It just also occurs to me that in a lot of churches, people don't actually know a lot about Jesus. There's
Yeah.
they know that he died for their sins and the like. They know he's the Son of God.
Right.
They know some big doctrinal kind of statements.
Yeah.
They're not always entirely familiar with the complexity of those big doctrines, but
Mm.
even when it comes to actually what Jesus said, what he did, how he responded to people, even what he meant when he said certain things. I often say that lots of people in our churches just know Jesus' greatest hits. Like they know Easter and Christmas and a few parables and a few miracles, and they hold those dear and they think that they're really beautiful stories. But I'm still amazed by the number of long-term Christian people who don't actually understand entirely what the Easter story was all about, or what
Right.
all the symbolism of the Christmas story was all about, let alone what that parable actually meant or why it was said to those people for
Right.
which reason and what other ideas he was drawing from and the vision of the kingdom. Back to our
Yeah.
conversation about gospel, the chances
Yeah.
are in a lot of churches, if I went to them and surveyed them and said, could you tell me what the gospel is? They would
Hmm.
probably say something like, Jesus died for my sins, something like that. But
Yep.
if I said, could you tell me what the reign of God is like or what the kingdom of God is like?
Mhm.
I think a lot of people would struggle to know even what kind of category of language to use, let alone
Yeah.
how to actually describe the reign of God or the kingdom of God or
Yeah.
whatever phrase they're more used to. And that says something to us. That says that
Hmm.
we're teaching certain doctrines about sin and shame and guilt and the like,
Yep.
and we're completely underdeveloping any kind of knowledge about the whole notion of what the new covenant is all about and what Jesus came to do and how Jesus does it.
Yeah.
Everything Jesus does and says either points to himself as the king or tells us something about what life in his kingdom looks like. Everything
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Um, Only occasionally does he actually speak about human sin or fallenness. And in saying all this, I don't want to diminish the importance of recognizing human sin and guilt
Hmm.
and repenting and finding forgiveness and new life. But I want to put that as part of this broader and more beautiful vision that Jesus
Right.
offers to us. And so,
Right.
every year I teach a course at Morling College called Jesus and the Gospels. And they're
Hmm.
very committed young students who turn up wanting to serve God in ministry. But every semester, every year I teach it, someone says, I had no idea about this, or I feel like I've met Jesus for the first time, or why
Yeah.
hasn't anyone told me that about Jesus before? Now, that's not
Right.
to say that they're not Christian or that they don't know Jesus. They do. But
Yeah.
why is it that the keenest Christians in our churches are not absolutely, completely aware of who Jesus is? It's kind of like they
Right.
should turn up to colleges like, oh, I've got Jesus. Like, I
Right.
get that. Can you train me then in how to do ministry or mission or service or preaching or whatever. But no, they're often coming without even that kind of more basic knowledge. And
Yeah.
that's just down to the churches. I mean, what are they telling them about Jesus?